The Ballot or the Bullet is the title of a public speech by human rights activist Malcolm X. In the speech, which was delivered on two occasions, the first being April 3, 1964, at the Corey Methodist Church in Cleveland, Ohio, and the second being on April 12, 1964, at the King Solomon Baptist Church, in Detroit, Michigan. 2. Malcolm X advised African Americans to judiciously exercise their right to vote, but he cautioned that if the government continued to prevent African Americans from attaining full equality, it might be necessary for them to take up arms. It was ranked 7th in the top 100 American speeches of the 20th century by 137 leading scholars of American public address. The Ballot or the Bullet is the title of a famous speech delivered by Malcolm X on April 3, 1964, in Cleveland, Ohio. In this speech, Malcolm X discusses the importance of African Americans exercising their right to vote as a means to achieve political and social change. He emphasizes that if the government fails to address the legitimate grievances of Black Americans through peaceful and democratic means, then they may have to resort to more forceful methods, metaphorically referred to as the bullet. Malcolm X was a prominent figure in the civil rights movement during the 1960s and was known for his advocacy of Black nationalism and self-defense. In The Ballot or the Bullet, he urged African Americans to be politically conscious, register to vote, and use their voting power strategically to bring about positive change. At the same time, he warned that if the political system continued to fail them, they might have to consider more radical measures to secure their rights and equality. The speech reflects the urgency and frustration felt by many in the African American community during the 1960s and remains a significant historical document in the context of the civil rights movement. The Ballot or the Bullet is a speech by Malcolm X delivered in 1964, where he encourages African Americans to use their right to vote as a tool for political change. Malcolm X stresses the importance of being politically conscious, registering to vote, and strategically using voting power. However, he also warns that if the political system fails to address the legitimate grievances of Black Americans, they might have to consider more forceful measures, symbolically referred to as the bullet. The speech reflects the urgency and frustration within the African American community during the civil rights movement, emphasizing the need for political empowerment and change. Malcolm X's The Ballot or the Bullet is a powerful and provocative speech that reflects the complex dynamics of the civil rights movement in the 1960s. Here are some key points of commentary on the speech. Political empowerment. Malcolm X stresses the importance of political empowerment through voting. He encourages African Americans to be actively involved in the political process, register to vote, and use their collective voting power to address systemic issues. This reflects a pragmatic approach to seeking change within the existing political system. Strategic use of voting power. Malcolm X advocates for a strategic use of voting power. He suggests that African Americans should not align themselves blindly with any political party but should evaluate politicians based on their commitment to addressing the concerns of the Black community. This strategic approach echoes the importance of political discernment and not being beholden to any single political ideology. The warning of the bullet. Malcolm X introduces the metaphor of the bullet as a warning to the government that if peaceful and democratic means fail to address the legitimate grievances of African Americans, they may resort to more forceful measures. This highlights the frustration and impatience within the Black community regarding the slow progress of civil rights. Rhetorical style. Malcolm X's speech is known for its passionate and direct rhetorical style. He employs vivid language and strong imagery to convey his message, capturing the attention and emotions of his audience. His forceful delivery reflects the urgency he feels regarding the issues faced by the African American community. Context of the civil rights movement. The speech is situated in the broader context of the civil rights movement, a time marked by significant activism and calls for racial equality. Malcolm X's ideas contrast with the nonviolent approach of figures like Martin Luther King Jr., as he suggests that if peaceful means fail, a more assertive stance might be necessary. Legacy. The Ballot or the Bullet remains a crucial historical document, showcasing the diversity of thought within the civil rights movement. Malcolm X's ideas continue to be studied and debated, illustrating the ongoing complexity of addressing racial issues in the United States. In summary, Malcolm X's speech is a forceful call to action, advocating for political engagement while warning of the potential consequences if the political system does not address the legitimate concerns of African Americans. Let's break down key points from Malcolm X's The Ballot or the Bullet on a line-by-line basis. Mr. Moderator, Reverend Cleage, Brother Lomax, brothers and sisters, and friends. Malcolm X begins by acknowledging and addressing the audience, including moderators, religious figures, Reverend Cleage, and fellow activists. And I see some enemies. He also acknowledges the presence of those who may oppose or be critical of his views. In fact, I think we'd be fooling ourselves if we had an audience this large and didn't realize that there were some enemies present. Malcolm X suggests that it would be naive not to acknowledge the potential opposition within such a large audience. This afternoon, we want to talk about the ballot or the bullet. Malcolm X introduces the central theme of his speech, the choice between using the ballot voting or resorting to more forceful means, symbolized by the bullet. The ballot or the bullet explains itself. He asserts that the title is self-explanatory, suggesting that the choice between voting and more radical actions is clear. But before we get into it, since this is the year of the ballot or the bullet, Malcolm X establishes the context, suggesting that the current year is crucial for making a decision between political means, the ballot, or more forceful measures, the bullet. I would like to clarify something concerning myself. He expresses a desire to clarify his own position or stance on the issues he's about to discuss. I'm still a Muslim. Malcolm X reaffirms his identity as a Muslim, emphasizing his religious beliefs and background. That is, my religion is still Islam. He specifies that he still adheres to the Islamic faith. My religion is still Islam. I still credit Mr. Muhammad for what I know and what I am. Malcolm X attributes his knowledge and identity to Elijah Muhammad, the leader of the Nation of Islam. He's the one who opened my eyes. He acknowledges Elijah Muhammad's role in shaping his perspective and understanding. At present, I'm the minister of the newly founded Muslim Mosque, Incorporated, which has its offices in the Teresa Hotel. Malcolm X provides information about his current role as the minister of the newly established Muslim Mosque, Incorporated. Right in the heart of Harlem, that's the Black Belt in New York City. He locates the organization in Harlem, emphasizing its connection to the predominantly black neighborhood. And when we realize that Adam Clayton Powell is a Christian minister, Malcolm X contrasts himself with Adam Clayton Powell, a prominent Christian minister and politician. He's the first Negro to head a congressional committee. He acknowledges Powell's historical achievement as the first African American to lead a congressional committee. Adam is a Christian minister. He got a church. Malcolm X reiterates Powell's religious affiliation and role as a Christian minister. And he's in Washington, D.C. He specifies Powell's location in the Capitol. Presidents go to Adam's church. He underscores Powell's influence by noting that even presidents attend his church. While he's at the church, he's at the same time in the state legislature. Malcolm X highlights Powell's dual roles as a religious figure and a political representative. This is Adam Clayton Powell. A concluding remark about Powell, setting the stage for Malcolm X's next point. These initial lines provide an introduction to Malcolm X's speech, setting the tone, introducing the central theme of the ballot or the bullet, and establishing his own religious and organizational affiliations in contrast to other influential figures. The Ballot or the Bullet, by Malcolm X, addresses several themes related to civil rights, political empowerment, and social justice. Here are some key themes along with examples from the speech. Political empowerment. Example: the only way we're going to get some of this oppression and exploitation away from us is come together against the common enemy. And the common enemy has tricked you into laying down your ballot. Explanation. Malcolm X emphasizes the importance of political empowerment, urging African Americans to unite against oppression by using their right to vote strategically. Strategic use of voting power. Example: you put them first, and they put you last, 'cause you're a chump, a political chump. Explanation. Malcolm X criticizes blind loyalty to political parties, encouraging strategic voting based on a politician's commitment to addressing the concerns of the black community. The choice between ballot and bullet. Example: if the ballot doesn't work, you're gonna have to get to the bullet. Explanation. The central theme of the speech is the choice between using the ballot, voting, as a peaceful means for change or resorting to more forceful measures represented by the bullet. Religious identity and activism. Example: I'm still a Muslim. That is, my religion is still Islam. Explanation. Malcolm X highlights his religious identity as a Muslim and connects it to his activism, demonstrating the intersection of faith and social justice in his perspective. Critique of Christian leadership. Example: while he's at the church, he's at the same time in the state legislature. This is Adam Clayton Powell. Explanation: Malcolm X contrasts Christian minister and politician Adam Clayton Powell with his own Muslim identity, emphasizing the need for effective leadership that addresses the political and social issues faced by the Black community. Community unity against common enemies. Example: the common enemy has tricked you into laying down your ballot. They've even made you think you're not a citizen. Explanation: Malcolm X calls for unity within the Black community against common enemies who manipulate and oppress, urging them to recognize their citizenship rights and use their ballots effectively. Urgency and frustration. Example: we want freedom now, but we're not going to get it, saying, we shall overcome. We've got to fight until we overcome. Explanation: Malcolm X expresses a sense of urgency and frustration, rejecting passive slogans and emphasizing the need for active and assertive measures to achieve freedom. Racial inequality and exploitation. Example: we don't see any American dream, we've experienced only the American nightmare. Explanation: Malcolm X critiques the American dream, highlighting the harsh reality of racial inequality and the nightmare experienced by African Americans, challenging the notion of equal opportunity. These themes underscore Malcolm X's complex and multifaceted perspective on the struggle for civil rights and social justice in the United States during the 1960s. Analyzing Malcolm X's "The Ballot or the Bullet" involves examining its rhetoric, themes, and historical context. Here's an analysis of key aspects of the speech. Rhetorical style. Malcolm X employs a passionate and forceful rhetorical style to engage his audience. His direct address and use of vivid language create a sense of urgency and importance. The repeated use of metaphors, such as "the ballot or the bullet," adds impact to his message and helps convey the gravity of the choices facing the African American community. By acknowledging the presence of both supporters and enemies in the audience, Malcolm X establishes a direct connection with his listeners and heightens the emotional intensity of his speech. Themes. The central theme revolves around the choice between using the ballot voting and resorting to more forceful measures, the bullet, to address the grievances of the Black community. This theme underscores the urgency and frustration felt during the civil rights era. Political empowerment and strategic use of voting power emerge as crucial themes. Malcolm X urges African Americans to be politically conscious and not blindly support any party, advocating for a thoughtful and strategic approach to voting. The intersection of religious identity and activism is evident as Malcolm X emphasizes his Muslim faith and its influence on his worldview and approach to social justice. Malcolm X critiques Christian leadership, contrasting it with his own Muslim identity. This critique is not just about religion but serves as commentary on the effectiveness of leaders in addressing the political and social issues faced by the Black community. The speech also addresses racial inequality, exploitation, and the urgency of the fight for freedom. Malcolm X rejects passive approaches and calls for active resistance to overcome the systemic challenges faced by African Americans. Historical context. The speech is situated in the broader context of the civil rights movement during the 1960s. Malcolm X's views differ from the nonviolent approach advocated by leaders like Martin Luther King Jr., reflecting the diversity of thought within the movement. The year 1964 is significant, as it was marked by major civil rights events, including the signing of the Civil Rights Act. Malcolm X's speech captures the heightened tensions and growing impatience within the Black community despite legislative progress. Malcolm X's mention of political figures like Adam Clayton Powell and the reference to the Nation of Islam provides context for his organizational affiliations and ideological background. Legacy. The Ballot or the Bullet remains a key document in the history of the civil rights movement, reflecting Malcolm X's evolution in political thought and his advocacy for a more assertive stance in pursuing justice. The speech continues to be studied for its insights into the challenges faced by African Americans, the role of political engagement, and the complexities of leadership within the movement. In summary, Malcolm X's speech is a powerful commentary on the choices and challenges faced by the Black community during a pivotal period in American history. The speech's rhetorical intensity, thematic richness, and historical context contribute to its enduring significance. Malcolm X's speech, The Ballot or the Bullet, exhibits several distinctive characteristics that contribute to its impact and historical significance. Passionate rhetoric. Malcolm X's speech is characterized by passionate and forceful rhetoric. His delivery is intense, and he uses strong language and vivid imagery to convey his message. This passionate style captures the attention and emotions of his audience. Direct address. Throughout the speech, Malcolm X directly addresses his audience, creating a sense of immediacy and personal connection. By acknowledging the presence of both supporters and potential adversaries, he engages the listeners directly, making the speech more impactful. Metaphorical language. The title itself, The Ballot or the Bullet, introduces a powerful metaphor that symbolizes the choices faced by the African American community. Malcolm X's use of metaphors throughout the speech, such as the ballot, the bullet, and political chump, adds depth and resonance to his arguments. Urgency and frustration. Malcolm X conveys a sense of urgency and frustration throughout the speech. He rejects gradualism and calls for immediate action, emphasizing the need for tangible results and change. This urgency reflects the impatience felt by many in the Black community during the civil rights era. Strategic voting advocacy. A prominent theme in the speech is Malcolm X's advocacy for strategic voting. He encourages African Americans to be politically conscious and not blindly support any political party. This strategic approach to voting aligns with his emphasis on achieving concrete results through the political process. Religious identity and activism. Malcolm X's speech reflects his strong connection to his Muslim faith. He openly identifies as a Muslim and attributes his knowledge and identity to Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam. This religious dimension adds depth to his perspective on social justice. Critique of Christian leadership. Malcolm X critiques Christian leadership, particularly figures like Adam Clayton Powell, highlighting what he sees as a lack of effective representation for the Black community. This critique serves to differentiate his perspective and aligns with his emphasis on a more assertive and self-reliant approach. Intersection of race and politics. The speech navigates the intersection of race and politics, addressing the systemic challenges faced by African Americans. Malcolm X challenges the existing political order and advocates for a more active and strategic role for Black voters in shaping their destiny. Call to action. Malcolm X's speech serves as a call to action. He challenges the audience to think critically, make strategic choices, and actively participate in the political process. The speech encourages a sense of agency and empowerment within the Black community. Historical context. The speech is deeply embedded in the historical context of the 1960s civil rights movement. Malcolm X's perspectives and calls for action are shaped by the events and challenges of the time, contributing to the broader narrative of the struggle for racial equality. In combination, these characteristics make The Ballot or the Bullet a compelling and enduring piece of oratory that reflects Malcolm X's complex views on race, religion, politics, and social justice during a critical period in American history.